My name is Alyssa Cade, 35 years old from Minneapolis, and I was halfway up when I knew something was wrong. It wasn't the snow. Minneapolis always looked like a holiday postcard in December. It wasn't the cold either. It was the silence. The kind that settles over a house when someone inside is doing something they shouldn't. Jordan had texted an hour earlier. Feeling sick, going to lie down, go ahead without me. That alone wasn't strange. Jordan had a convenient talent for getting sick whenever my family expected him at a gathering. But today was Christmas Eve, and my parents had gone all out so Harper could have something magical after a rough school year. Jordan knew that. He also knew I hated walking in alone, answering questions for both of us. Still, I didn't suspect anything big. I just thought he was being dramatic again. But when I unlocked the door and stepped inside, the sound hit me first. Laughter. Low, breathy, too intimate to mistake. I froze. No one else was supposed to be here. I walked deeper into the house, my boots leaving melting snow on the hardwood. Another sound. The shift of a mattress. A muffled gasp. My stomach dropped. I didn't call out his name. Something in me already knew. My body moved on its own, carrying me down the hallway with a calmness that didn't match the thundering in my chest. When I pushed open the bedroom door, the world snapped in half. Jordan was sitting on the edge of the bed, shirt halfway unbuttoned, hair a mess. And beside him, far too close, legs tangled with his, was Nora Reed, Harper's school guidance counselor, the woman who'd sent me long emails about my daughter's emotional growth. The woman who hugged me in the hallway after conferences like she genuinely cared. The woman I had invited into my home more than once, trusted more than I should have. Her eyes blew wide when she saw me. She scrambled, clutching her sweater against her chest. "Alyssa!" Jordan started, voice cracking. I didn't hear the rest. Not really. My vision tunneled, but my mind was painfully clear. "You're sick?" I said. "That's what you told me." Jordan stood too fast, almost tripping over the covers. "Listen, it's not—" "Not what?" I asked quietly. "What it looks like." Nora flinched. I could feel the fear rolling off her, like she suddenly remembered she wasn't dealing with a fragile wife, but a mother whose child she had pretended to protect. "You need to leave," I told her. She nodded so fast it almost looked like a spasm. She grabbed her purse and slipped past me, muttering a shaky, "I'm sorry." The moment she stepped into the hallway, everything shifted. Two neighbors, the Andersons, were standing near the open front door, holding a wrapped gift. They must have heard the commotion. They looked between Nora rushing out and Jordan half-dressed behind me, and their expressions said everything. Shock, pity, disgust, fascination. Perfect. Jordan reached for me. "Alyssa, please, she came by to talk about Harper's." "Don't you dare use our daughter in this," I said, louder now. My voice bounced off the walls, sharp enough that even Mr. Anderson took a step back. Jordan's face crumpled. He tried to button the rest of his shirt, hands shaking. It wasn't planned. It just happened. We were talking and you fell onto each other? My laugh sliced through the room. "Does that line work on people with functioning brain cells?" His jaw tightened. "This isn't fair. You don't understand how stressed I've been, how neglected I feel." "Neglected?" That word finally snapped something in me. "I've carried this family for years while you played victim every time life didn't bend around your ego." His eyes flicked toward the neighbors. He lowered his voice, like he wanted to salvage some dignity. "Can we talk alone?" "Oh, now you care about who's listening." I stepped back so he couldn't corner me. "You should have cared about that 15 minutes ago." Behind me, I heard footsteps. Mrs. Anderson whispering, "We should go," and her husband murmuring, "Give them space." But neither of them moved fast enough. Nora was still standing outside, fumbling with her keys, cheeks burning bright red. She glanced up, and our eyes met through the doorway. That was all it took. "Tell me something, Jordan," I said, still watching Nora. "Did you pick her because she already had access to our daughter? Because she knew exactly when I'd be out of the house?" "That's not—" "Alyssa, stop." I finally looked at him. Really looked. This was a man I had loved for 13 years. A man I had forgiven too many times. A man I had convinced myself would get better. I didn't feel love now. I didn't even feel heartbreak. I felt clarity. "You humiliated me in my own home," I said, voice steady. "On Christmas Eve, with a woman I trusted around my child. I swear, I didn't mean—" "What you meant stopped mattering the second I opened that door." He tried to touch my arm. This time, I stepped back far enough that he understood the message. "Don't. Alyssa," he whispered. "Please. Don't leave like this." I grabbed my coat from the chair, slipped it on, and looked at him with the calmest expression I've ever worn. "Oh, I'm leaving," I said. "And I promise you something." He swallowed. "What?" "You will never get the chance to humiliate me again." Jordan's face drained of color. I walked past him, past the neighbors, past Nora still frozen by her car. I didn't look back. My boots hit the snow-covered steps, the cold air biting my face, but I felt more awake than I had in years. As I closed the door behind me, a single steady thought settled in my mind. This isn't the end. This is the beginning of your ruin. I didn't drive straight to my parents' house after leaving the disaster behind. I parked a few blocks away, shut off the engine, and just sat there with my hands on the wheel, feeling the pieces of my life shifting into something unrecognizable. People always assumed Jordan and I were unshakable. 13 years together, 10 years married. A daughter who adored him. On the outside, we looked like a stable, quiet Minnesota family. I used to think that was enough. Predictability, routine, showing up for each other even when life felt heavy. But somewhere along the way, I became the only one showing up. Jordan drifted through career switches, mood swings, and endless stress phases. I held the real weight: bills, schedules, Harper's school meetings. I told myself that love meant carrying the load when the other person fell behind. I didn't realize I had been carrying both of us for years. When Harper started seeing her school guidance counselor, Nora, it felt like a blessing. Harper had trouble adjusting after a tough year, a bullying incident that made her anxious, withdrawn. Nora stepped in gently, with warm eyes and a soft voice that felt trustworthy. She'd email me updates, walk me through Harper's progress, tell me I was doing a good job as a mom. I believed her. I let her in. And Jordan acted like he didn't even know her. That's what makes everything twist the knife deeper. He pretended she was a stranger. He pretended he barely remembered her name. But looking back, the signs were there. The sudden interest Jordan had in picking Harper up from school. Something he'd never volunteered for before. The text messages he'd hide with a quick tilt of his phone. The extra showers. The unexpected cologne. I wasn't stupid. I just didn't want to believe my husband would stoop that low, especially involving a woman connected to our daughter. I rubbed my forehead, feeling the sting of humiliation bloom again. I kept replaying the scene. Nora's startled face, Jordan scrambling, the neighbors watching. Every time I blinked, another memory surfaced. The day Nora lingered too long in our kitchen, laughing at something Jordan said. The way he straightened up when she complimented him. How I brushed it off, telling myself I was imagining it. My phone buzzed. A message from my sister, Michelle. "Mom said you didn't show up. Everything okay?" I hesitated, then called her. The second she answered, her voice was soft. "Alyssa? What happened?" I couldn't speak at first. When I finally told her, the words came out raw and clipped. She didn't interrupt. She just listened, breathing hard on the other end. "Alyssa," she said firmly, "Harper told me something a while ago. I didn't want to worry you, but..." She said she saw her dad hugging Miss Nora in the school parking lot. Not a normal hug. A secret one. My heart clenched. That was the confirmation I didn't want but needed. The final piece that made everything click into place. Jordan hadn't slipped. He hadn't made a mistake. He had been betraying me, and betraying our daughter's trust, for months. The next morning, I woke up before the sun, not because I slept, but because my body refused to shut down. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Nora sitting on my bed. My bed. The place I had laid Harper down as a newborn. The place I folded laundry. The place I thought my marriage still meant something. By dawn, the numbness had faded. What replaced it wasn't panic, heartbreak, or denial. It was clarity. I made coffee like I was on autopilot, but inside, something had shifted. I wasn't going to plead or negotiate or wait for Jordan's explanation. I wasn't going to play the role of the wounded wife while he fumbled through damage control. I was done cleaning up his messes. The first thing I did was call my lawyer, Carla. She answered on the second ring. She always did. "Alyssa? What's going on?" I told her everything in one steady breath. No tears, no shaking, just facts. She listened, then let out a slow exhale. "We move now," she said. "Before he realizes what's coming." That sentence lit something in me. I had spent years moving after Jordan, reacting to his mistakes, covering his inconsistencies, smoothing over his storms. Now I was moving first. Carla laid out the steps: freeze the joint account, separate my direct deposits, secure Harper's medical and school documents, and record everything: dates, texts, witnesses. I didn't flinch. I wrote each instruction down and got to work. At the bank, the teller asked politely, "Both names on the account?" "Yes," I said without blinking. "And I'd like it frozen immediately. Fraud concerns." It wasn't fraud, but it was something worse: betrayal funded with my effort. By noon, I had transferred my savings into a private account Jordan couldn't touch. I called the mortgage company and requested a temporary hold pending legal review. I scheduled a home appraisal for the following week. I hired a locksmith. Every step felt like oxygen returning to my lungs. Back home, I started packing small essentials, not to leave permanently, but to prepare. Clothes for Harper, important documents, passwords, keepsakes. I moved with a calmness I didn't expect, like I had rehearsed this moment in the back of my mind for years without admitting it. Around 2 in the afternoon, Jordan finally called, then texted, then called again. I didn't answer. His messages poured in like someone desperately trying to fix a crack that had already split the foundation. "Alyssa, we need to talk. Please pick up. I'm sorry. It wasn't serious. Can you at least tell me where you are?" Each one confirmed what I already knew. He thought he still had control. He thought I was at home crying, waiting for him to show up with another half-hearted apology. He had no idea the ground beneath him was already shifting. By 4 o'clock, I had packed everything I needed into 2 suitcases and loaded them into my car. I picked Harper up from my parents' place, hugged her a little tighter, and brought her home to pack her overnight things. I didn't tell her everything. She was 10, but she sensed enough. "Mom," she whispered, "are we going to be okay?" "Yes," I said, brushing her hair back. "We're going to be more than okay." As I zipped her backpack, my phone rang again. This time, I answered. Jordan's voice was sharp with panic. "Why is the bank saying our account is locked? What did you do?" I stepped out onto the porch, letting the cold air hit my face. I did what any sane person does when her husband cheats with her daughter's guidance counselor. "Alyssa, I'm not discussing this over the phone," I cut in. "You'll hear from my lawyer." There was a long, stunned silence. You're serious?" "Yes," I said. "And I'm already ahead of you." I hung up, feeling the weight of the moment settle like a final turning of a key. Jordan had just realized the truth. I wasn't broken. I was preparing for war, and I had already taken the first shot. By the next morning, the fallout had already begun, and I hadn't even left the house. Jordan showed up at 7:12 a.m., not knocking, pounding. Harper was still getting ready for school, brushing her hair in the bathroom. I didn't want her anywhere near him, so I slipped outside and pulled the door shut behind me. Jordan stood on the porch, pale and frantic, hair unwashed. He looked like a man who had woken up to the consequences of his own arrogance and was scrambling to pretend he didn't deserve them. "Alyssa, what the hell is happening?" he demanded. The bank froze the account. My card got declined at the gas station. The mortgage company said they can't discuss the house with me anymore. What are you doing? For years I would have softened, explained, tried to calm him. Not now. You made your choices, I said. I'm making mine. He stared at me like he didn't recognize me, which was fair. I wasn't the version of Alyssa who smoothed everything for him. This version was someone he never expected to meet. You can't just lock me out of everything, he hissed. It's Christmas. You're being vindictive. I folded my arms. No, Jordan. Vindictive would be telling the school board what you did with one of their employees in my bedroom. His breath caught. He knew I could. He knew I would. Before he could spiral, Harper opened the door behind me. Mom, I'm ready. Jordan tried to step toward her. Hey, Harp! I blocked him with one arm. Not today, I said quietly. She's not your shield anymore. He swallowed hard. Harper clutched her backpack straps and leaned into me, sensing more than she understood. I buckled her into the car, kissed her forehead, and watched her breathe out slowly as if the air outside the house already felt lighter. When I pulled out of the driveway, Jordan stood there on the porch, watching the life he took for granted drive away without him. I didn't expect the social ripple to hit so fast. By noon, 3 PTA moms had texted me versions of "Call me ASAP." By 2, I had missed calls from the school principal and vice principal. By 3, Nora Reed's name had vanished from Harper's school website, her profile page replaced with a generic guidance team placeholder. Apparently, Nora hadn't made it far after leaving my house. Mrs. Anderson, a woman who absorbed neighborhood gossip like oxygen, had seen her running to her car, in tears, looking like she'd seen a ghost, then told 2 other neighbors, who each told 2 more. By morning, half the block knew that Jordan was caught with someone, and that it wasn't just anyone, it was the school counselor. I didn't confirm anything. I didn't deny anything. I just let the truth sit where it landed. At work, Jordan wasn't so lucky. He tried to call me around 1 p.m. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail, voice tight and embarrassed. My card isn't working. My boss pulled me aside and asked if everything at home is stable. They heard something from one of the parents at the school. Alyssa, this is out of control. You need to talk to me. But I owed him nothing. Meanwhile, Nora was dealing with her own collapse. The principal's office called to schedule a discussion regarding conduct concerns. Translation, they were investigating. In a school system, impropriety wasn't just frowned upon, it was a professional death sentence. I didn't lift a finger to push any of this. It unfolded because people talked, because Jordan lied, because Nora crossed a line with the wrong family. And yet, somehow, they acted like I had done something to them. That evening, after putting Harper to bed at my parents' house, she didn't want to stay in the old home for now. I sat in the living room scrolling through my emails. My lawyer had sent updates. The appraisal was confirmed. The financial separation timeline was in motion. Everything was moving. At 9:47 p.m., my phone buzzed again. Jordan. I almost ignored it. But something made me answer this one. His voice was different, hollow, afraid. Alyssa, please, I need to talk to you before things get worse. Everyone is turning against me. My job is asking questions. The school is calling me nonstop. Just, please, can we meet? I closed my eyes, letting the weight of his panic roll off me. No, I said. You don't get to ask for comfort from the person you betrayed. Alyssa, this is just the beginning, I said quietly. Everything you're feeling right now? It's only step 1, and I hung up. Jordan had no idea how far I was willing to go, and he had just felt the first tremor of the earthquake he caused. I didn't plan to see either of them again so soon. I thought my silence alone would be enough to keep Jordan scrambling in his own mess for at least a week. But life has a way of dropping the perfect targets right in front of you when they're already wobbling. The opportunity came 3 days later. Harper's school hosted a mandatory mid-year parent forum. The kind where administration reviewed student progress and addressed any concerns. I wasn't going to go. My lawyer said I didn't owe the school anything right now, but my phone buzzed that morning with a message from another parent. You might want to be here. Things are tense. Tenser than usual? I texted back. The reply came instantly. It's about Nora. That was all I needed. I dropped Harper off at my parents' house again and drove straight to the school. The parking lot was full. Snow slush kicked up everywhere from anxious tires. The moment I stepped inside the cafeteria, I felt the air shift. Eyes flicked toward me. Conversations dropped. It wasn't hostility. It was curiosity mixed with the kind of pity that says, everyone knows. I didn't shrink. I walked straight to an empty seat near the front. The principal, Ms. Ortega, stood on stage with a stack of papers and the strained smile of someone trying to hold a school together with duct tape. A row of teachers and staff sat behind her. And there she was. Nora. She looked like she had aged 5 years in 3 days. Eyes puffy, hair uncharacteristically messy, sitting stiffly, hands clasped, gaze downward. She never looked at me. Couldn't look at me. Which made it even clearer how guilty she was. But the real surprise wasn't her. Jordan walked in 2 minutes later. He had no reason to be there. None. And yet he slid into a chair near the aisle, scanning the room with the frantic energy of a man trying to read a room that already hated him. When he spotted me, he froze, then attempted a weak smile that died instantly. Good. Ms. Ortega started the meeting. She reviewed attendance numbers, reading scores, upcoming events. Voices murmured, chairs shifted. Everyone was waiting for the part we all knew was coming. Then Ms. Ortega paused, adjusted her glasses, and addressed the elephant in the room. Before we continue, I want to acknowledge recent concerns regarding conduct by a member of our staff. Silence swallowed the room. Nora stiffened. Jordan's head jerked up like he was about to defend her. We are investigating the matter thoroughly, Ms. Ortega continued calmly. We take the safety and trust of our students and families very seriously. The audience shifted, soft gasps and whispers rippling through the room. And then a father near the back, bold, loud, clearly fed up, raised his hand and said exactly what everyone had been thinking. Is this about the counselor who was caught sleeping with a married parent? The room erupted. Nora's face drained. Ms. Ortega tried to regain control. We can't discuss specifics, another parent snapped. We all know who it is. Half this room saw her running out of someone's house. I stayed quiet, hands folded in my lap, watching the chaos build. Jordan stood abruptly, his chair scraping the floor. Okay, enough, he barked. This is out of line. You're talking about a good woman and you don't know what really happened. Dozens of heads swiveled toward him. He had just confirmed the rumor without realizing it. The father near the back shot back. So you're saying the rumors are true? Jordan's mouth opened, then closed. His face flushed, that blotchy red he always got when cornered. Nora whispered sharply, Jordan, stop. But he didn't. He looked around like a trapped animal, scanning for someone who still believed him. And his eyes landed on me. Alyssa, he said, voice cracking. Tell them. This isn't what they think. You're twisting everything. Just tell them. I stood slowly. The room quieted so fast it felt like gravity shifted. Every set of eyes turned toward me. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. I'm not twisting anything, I said. I walked in on him and Ms. Reed together in my bedroom on Christmas Eve, while my daughter was waiting for us at my parents' house. That's the truth. A wave of outrage moved through the room like a physical force. Nora buried her face in her hands. Jordan whispered, Alyssa, please. I lifted a hand, silencing him. Then I delivered the line that I would later hear repeated in parking lots, text threads, and PTA chats for weeks. If he wants to save his reputation, he should start by telling the truth, for the first time in his life. The room exploded. Parents gasped. Some actually clapped. One mother mumbled, Amen. Ms. Ortega tried to regain control, but the crowd had already turned. Judgment sharp, collective, and merciless. Jordan sank back into his chair, crushed under the weight of the very public humiliation he had created. Nora slipped out of the room shaking. I didn't stay until the meeting ended. I had already accomplished what I came for. When I stepped outside into the cold air, my phone buzzed with texts from 3 parents and 1 teacher. But the last message stopped me in my tracks. Jordan is looking for you. He's panicking. Good. He should be. This was only the 2nd round. And he was already buckling. I should have expected Jordan to fight back. Humiliation was something he couldn't tolerate. He'd rather lie, twist, and burn the entire world down than admit he was wrong. But even knowing that, I wasn't prepared for how quickly he tried to turn the narrative around. It started the morning after the parent forum. My phone buzzed nonstop. Not from Jordan, from mutual friends, coworkers, neighbors. Did you see Jordan's post? Alyssa, what is he doing? He's losing it. I hadn't seen anything. I wasn't following him. But curiosity won, and I opened a coworker's screenshot. Jordan had posted a 3-paragraph Facebook update, dramatic, self-pitying, written like a man auditioning for sympathy. It read, "I'm going through a devastating marital situation. I won't name names, but there are false accusations being spread by angry people who don't understand the full context. My mental health has been in a fragile place. I made mistakes, but nothing like what's being said. Please be kind. Please don't believe rumors. I just want peace." I let out a slow breath. There it was. The classic Jordan pivot. When caught red-handed, he didn't apologize. He crafted a sob story. And of course, a small handful of people fell for it. The praying for you types. The stay strong brother comments. The ones who liked to rally behind the loudest victim in the room, even when they weren't victims at all. But most people weren't buying it. Not after what they saw at the meeting. Not after seeing Nora run out of my house like she'd been caught in a crime scene. Not after hearing Jordan try to defend the indefensible. Still, Jordan didn't stop there. By afternoon, he'd uploaded a video. A poorly lit, shaky phone recording of him sitting in his car, fake grief dripping from every line. He talked about betrayal. He talked about being misunderstood. He talked about mental health, stress, the pressures of work. And then, unbelievably, he framed himself as the one suffering from my choices. I didn't deserve for my private life to be blasted in front of an entire school, he said. I'm human. I make mistakes. But I'm a good father. I love my daughter. I hope someday people stop judging what they don't know. He didn't mention Nora by name. He didn't mention the affair. He didn't mention that he detonated his own reputation. He implied I had overreacted, that I had embarrassed him, not the other way around. I watched the whole video once, jaw clenched, then shut my phone off. But the world didn't shut off with it. Within hours, the video had been clipped, reposted, analyzed, laughed at. Parents from the school, the ones who had witnessed the meltdown, began commenting, "You defended her. We literally heard you admit it. Stop playing victim." And then came the blow he never saw coming. Receipts. Not leaked by me, not encouraged by me, but by people who had seen too much. A mother uploaded a blurry photo she'd taken accidentally outside the forum. Jordan standing, red-faced, shouting at the crowd while Nora hid behind him. You could practically smell the guilt through the screen. Another parent posted a time-stamped text chain from months ago where Nora had overstepped boundaries with their kid. Nothing salacious, but enough to show a pattern of unprofessional behavior. Then came the big one. A screenshot from a gym employee showing Nora and Jordan checking in together, repeatedly, during the months he claimed he was working late. His claims unraveled at the seams in real time. Comment sections turned vicious. He's lying. He's manipulative. He's weaponizing mental health. Classic cheater tactics. Protect your daughter, Alyssa. This is disgusting behavior. His video accumulated more laughing emojis than sympathy ones. Hashtags started appearing beneath shared clips. Accountability for Jordan. I protect our kids. The counselor scandal. It wasn't just neighborhood gossip anymore. It was public opinion. And it was brutal. I understood then that Jordan wasn't fighting me. He was fighting a community that had seen who he truly was and refused to pretend otherwise. And he was losing. Around 6 that evening, Jordan called. I didn't answer. He sent a long text instead. Take it down. Make them stop. You have to tell people the rumors aren't true. You're ruining my life. I stared at the message, amazed by the audacity. I hadn't posted a single thing. Not one. And yet he blamed me for the storm he created by trying to manipulate the narrative. I typed one sentence back. I didn't ruin your life, Jordan. I just stopped protecting it. He didn't reply. Hours later, someone forwarded me a screenshot of his Facebook page. Jordan had deactivated his account. The man who wanted attention more than air had just gone silent. Because the performance finally failed, the audience turned on him, and the truth drowned out every lie he tried to build. He wasn't misunderstood anymore. He was exposed. By the time the public turned on Jordan, the legal machinery was already moving. I'd spent years believing he held the power in our marriage, emotionally, financially, socially. It was strange watching the truth reveal itself. His power only existed because I kept propping it up. Now that I wasn't, everything collapsed fast. The first real blow came during our emergency consultation with my lawyer, Carla. She spoke with the calm precision of someone who'd dismantled 100 men like Jordan. We file immediately, she said, flipping through documents. Given the affair with someone connected to your child, we push for primary custody. And based on financial contributions, you're entitled to the majority share of the marital assets. Jordan showed up late, looking hungover from his own meltdown. When he entered the room and saw the stack of evidence, the gym check-ins, the text confirmations, the screenshots parents had offered, he went sheet white. You can't use that, he said, voice cracking. Carla didn't even look up. It's all public. Some of it was voluntarily submitted. Everything is admissible. Jordan sat down hard. Alyssa, please, we don't have to do this. You did this, I said. Now we're just documenting it. He swallowed, but said nothing else. By the end of the week, things began unraveling in places he never expected, starting with his job. His manager called him into HR after parents from the school sent concerned emails linking the counselor scandal to Jordan's name. Tech sales requires one thing Jordan no longer had: credibility. He tried to claim it was a personal matter, but HR wasn't having it. Impropriety with school staff, especially one connected to his daughter, was enough to trigger a company review. By Friday, he was put on unpaid leave. He texted me. They suspended me. Can you at least tell them this is exaggerated? I need my job. I didn't answer. He burned the house down. I wasn't rebuilding it for him. The next blow hit Nora. The school district launched a formal investigation. She was placed on administrative leave pending review of boundaries, student-related ethics, and inappropriate contact with a parent. Parents were furious. Some demanded she never return. Others threatened to pull their kids from her caseload, or the school entirely, if she stayed employed. I didn't ask for any of that. But when you break the trust of parents, you don't get to keep the title of counselor. She went silent online, silent publicly, silent everywhere. Rumor had it she was staying with her sister across town. I didn't waste time thinking about her. Then came the financial avalanche. Because the joint account was frozen and my income was already moved, Jordan couldn't touch the savings. His credit cards bounced, his car payment was declined. His phone bill went unpaid, and he had to switch to Wi-Fi calling. He sent me another string of messages. This is insane. You're pushing too far. I need money for rent. Are you really going to let me drown like this? Yes. I was. The part that shocked him most came from his own family. His father, Raymond, a stern, old-school man Jordan always tried to impress, called me personally. I've heard enough, he said. He embarrassed the family name. I won't support him anymore. And he didn't. Within days, Raymond cut all financial support. The little emergency money he slipped Jordan during every rough patch. The savings account he had offered to help with Harper's school. Even the inclusion of Jordan in future business plans. Jordan called him, begging. Raymond didn't budge. His brother, Paul, usually the diplomatic peacekeeper, also withdrew. He sent me a message. I'm sorry. He crossed a line I can't justify. If you need anything for Harper, I'm here. Jordan lost the two people he believed would save him from consequences. He learned, brutally, that even family has limits. By the end of the month, Jordan was living in a weekly rental, the kind with thin walls and loud neighbors, after being removed from our home during the appraisal process. He looked nothing like the polished man he once pretended to be. He was unshaven, exhausted, and terrified. Meanwhile, Harper and I had moved into my parents' guest house temporarily, surrounded by warmth and stability while the divorce advanced. The contrast was stark. He descended. We rose. The final straw came in a voicemail late one night. His voice was shaking. Alyssa, please, I have nothing left. You win. Can you at least meet me? Just once? I need to talk to you. But this wasn't a win for me. It was simply balance returning where he'd broken it. He was alone, not because I wanted him to be, but because he made choices that led him exactly there. And now, the moment he never expected, the final confrontation, was closing in. I agreed to meet him on a Thursday evening, mostly because I wanted the last thread between us cut cleanly. No loose ends, no unfinished business he could cling to. The meeting place he chose told me everything about where he was mentally. A run-down weekly rental on the edge of town, the kind with flickering hallway lights and carpets that never fully lose the smell of old tenants. I knocked once. Jordan opened the door almost instantly, as if he had been standing there, waiting. His face shocked me. Not because he looked broken, I expected that, but because for the first time, there was no performance left. No smirk. No defensiveness. Just a hollowed-out man who finally understood he couldn't charm, manipulate, or lie his way out of what he'd done. Alyssa, he whispered, stepping aside. The apartment was small. One room, a kitchenette, a mattress on the floor, clothes scattered, a pile of unopened mail on the counter, a microwave dinner half-eaten. He gestured at the only chair. I stayed standing. Jordan swallowed. You look different. I am, I said. He rubbed his hands together, a nervous habit he used to hide behind fake confidence. I know you don't want to hear apologies, and I know you have every reason to hate me. I don't hate you, I said softly. I just see you clearly now. That landed harder than shouting ever could have. He sat on the edge of the mattress, staring down like the floor might have answers. Everything's gone, Alyssa. My job, my reputation. My dad won't return my calls. Paul says he's done trying to defend me. Nora won't even text me back. I didn't respond. He lifted his head slightly. It wasn't supposed to go this far. It went exactly as far as your choices took it. He winced. I know. His voice cracked. I wanted to talk because I don't know what to do anymore. I don't know how to fix any of this. You can't, I said. His breathing hitched. But you were always the one who helped me through things. You always figured stuff out. There it was, the core of who he had always been. He didn't want a partner. He wanted a caretaker. A woman who would drag his dead weight through life and call it love. I'm not doing that anymore, I said. Not for you. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, fingers pressed to his forehead. Can you at least tell people the rumors aren't true? You know how this looks. Everyone thinks I'm some monster. I blinked slowly. Jordan. Nothing anyone said was a rumor. He froze. You cheated with our daughter's guidance counselor, I continued. You humiliated me. You humiliated yourself. You created every consequence you're drowning in. He opened his mouth to speak, then shut it. For once, he had no spin. A long silence filled the room. He finally whispered, "Do you ever think we could find a way back from this?" I stared at him, stunned. "You think there's a universe where I would want to rebuild anything with the man who did this to me and to Harper?" His eyes reddened. "I'm begging you. I don't want to lose everything." "You already lost everything," I said. "Now you're just living in the reality that followed." He looked around the room, the peeling paint, the stained carpet, the mattress with no bed frame, like he was seeing it for the first time. "I don't understand how you can be so calm." "Because I'm done fighting for someone who never fought for us," I said. "Because I stopped breaking myself to hold you together." He shook his head, voice trembling. "So that's it? 13 years and you just walk away?" I stepped toward the door. "That's not why I'm walking away," I said. "I'm walking away because if I stay, you'll drag me down with you." He flinched like I'd hit him. I opened the door. Cold air rushed in. Jordan stood up suddenly. "Alyssa, wait. Please. Tell me something. Tell me you'll think about it. Tell me you don't completely hate me. Tell me I'm not a lost cause." I turned to him, calm, steady, untouchable, and gave him the line he would never forget. "You're not a lost cause, Jordan. You're just no longer my responsibility." His face crumpled. I walked out without looking back, letting the door close behind me with a soft, final click. And for the first time in years, the air outside felt like freedom. 6 months later, I barely recognized the woman I used to be. The divorce finalized smoothly, not because Jordan cooperated, but because the evidence made fighting pointless. The courts granted me primary custody of Harper, along with the house and the majority of our assets. Jordan agreed to supervised visitation, though he rarely scheduled it. When he did, Harper often chose not to go. She didn't say why. She didn't have to. Our life shifted into something quieter, simpler, and strangely brighter. I found a small, sunlit townhome near the river. Nothing extravagant, just warm and grounding. Harper decorated her room with string lights and drawings, and she stopped checking over her shoulder whenever the front door opened. She laughed more, slept better. Her grades improved. She started taking piano lessons again, something she'd abandoned during the last year of our marriage. My parents visited often. My sister came by with groceries and late-night conversations. The world that once felt heavy now felt held. And me? I rebuilt in ways I didn't expect. I finally applied for the promotion at work that I'd been putting off for years because Jordan always needed help, needed rides, or needed attention. I got it. The raise didn't just help financially, it felt symbolic. A recognition of what I'd carried alone, and what I now allowed myself to reach for. I joined a weekend hiking group. Nothing intense, just people who wanted fresh air and good coffee afterward. I made new friends. Ones who knew me only as Alyssa, not as Jordan's wife, or the woman from the scandal. Sometimes they asked gently if I was seeing anyone. I always answered honestly, "I'm not looking, I'm healing." Because the truth was, I liked waking up without chaos. I liked choosing my peace on purpose. I liked knowing my life wasn't dependent on someone else's ability to stay faithful, stay honest, or stay grounded. As for Jordan, I heard bits and pieces. He bounced between temp jobs. His family kept their distance. He moved apartments twice, each one smaller than the last. Nora left the state quietly, reportedly working in a district 2 cities away. Their connection dissolved as quickly as it had begun. Occasionally, he sent a message asking how Harper was doing. I replied with short, factual updates. Nothing more. Boundaries that once felt impossible now felt natural, necessary. The last time I saw him was by accident. Harper and I were at the grocery store when he turned down the aisle, pushing a half-empty cart, looking thinner than I remembered. His expression flickered with recognition, regret, maybe shame. He opened his mouth like he wanted to say something. An apology, a greeting. Who knows? I gave him a polite nod and kept walking. Harper squeezed my hand and we turned the corner. There was no bitterness in that moment. No anger, no triumph, just distance. clean and steady, like a door that had been closed with intention. He was part of a life I had outgrown. On warm evenings, Harper and I sit on the back porch of our new home, listening to the river and sharing hot chocolate. She tells me about school, friends, ideas she wants to try. I listen, really listen, because now there's space. There's room for both of us to breathe. Sometimes I think back to the night everything fell apart. Christmas Eve, the laughter behind the bedroom door, the instant my marriage shattered. It feels like a different lifetime, a different woman. I'm not grateful it happened. Betrayal is never a gift. But I am grateful for what came after. The clarity, the strength, the freedom to rebuild a life rooted in truth, not illusion. And if there's one thing I've learned, one thing I'll never forget, it's this. Betrayal may break you open, but what you choose to build afterward is what sets you free.